Today is Monday, July 7th, and I'm going to give you a news roundup for today. The main event and phenomenon that's getting attention in all the major outlets is, of course, the terrible flooding in Texas. The flood has claimed more than 100 lives, 28 of whom were children. There are also people missing, and the situation is still unfolding. Let's read the article.
As of Monday night, 84 people were confirmed dead in the Kerr County floods, among them 27 campers and counselors from Camp Mystic, an all-girls camp on the banks of the Guadalupe River and one of the hardest hit by the catastrophic flooding. The deaths were confirmed in a Monday morning update on the camp's website. Texas flood responders continued their search operations Monday along the Guadalupe River in Hunt and Kerrville, where families still wait to hear what happened to their loved ones. As of Monday night, 10 Camp Mystic campers and 1 counselor were still unaccounted for, the sheriff said. As search and rescue operations continue, the death toll across several counties in the Hill Country surpassed 100, with Kerr County being the area affected the most. Houston businesses and sports organizations have pledged aid to the victims, and donation drives have been set up so Houstonians can help how they can. As search and rescue operations continue, the death toll across several counties in the Hill Country has surpassed 100, with Kerr County being the area affected the most. In Kerr County, 84 have been confirmed dead due to the floods, including 56 adults and 28 children. Other surrounding counties confirmed a total of 20 deaths, with 7 in Travis County, 6 in Kendall County, 4 in Burnett County, 2 in Williamson County, and 1 in Tom Green County. This brings a total death toll to 104.
So, more than 40 people are still considered missing. However, over 800 people have already been rescued. The damage caused to Texas amounts to more than $20 billion. That's an enormous sum. And President Trump has declared a state of emergency, a natural disaster emergency, in this area. Discussions have also begun in the U.S. House of Representatives. Who's to blame and what should be done in this situation? There are debates about whether the warning about this situation was given in a timely manner, whether it was given too late, so that people simply didn't have time to evacuate from the area of the impending natural disaster. Of course, all of this can be discussed. But right now is not the time to look for those at fault. It's a time for everyone to come together and help those affected. Assistance is being provided, and in sufficient volume, so all that's left is to wish all the best to the victims, the rescuers, and everyone involved in this situation. The next major event of today is the ongoing escalation of the conflict between Elon Musk and President Donald Trump. Let's read the article.
New York, July 7th, Reuters breaking views. When something isn't working, Elon Musk's instinct is to push even harder. The Tesla, Open's new tab boss, has taken plenty of risks against lengthening odds over the years, from betting the electric car maker on the development hell of building its most successful models, through to wagering the $910 billion company's future by backing Donald Trump's presidential campaign last year. Each time, the danger was in service of tantalizing reward. By announcing plans to form a new political party, Musk is cranking the political risk dial to 11 for a smaller financial payoff. Musk's political gamble on Trump initially appeared to hit the jackpot. Tesla shares skyrocketed after the November presidential election, as investors bet the world's richest man would benefit from having the president's ear when pushing initiatives like self-driving cars. But his swinning cost cuts with the Department of Government Efficiency sparked a consumer backlash, which tanked Tesla sales in key markets. As Musk's relationship with key White House figures frayed, he departed the government in late May. The Reuters Daily Briefing newsletter provides all the news you need to start your day. Sign up here. Tesla investors had hoped that Musk's return to the wheel would revive the company's fortunes. Yet, while shareholders seem happy to give it credit for future innovations like robo-taxis and robots, its business today is crumbling. Analysts' expectations for this year's earnings have tumbled by nearly half since January. The mixture of future hope and a dismal present is why, After a 6.5% drop in early trading on Monday, Tesla stock still trades at an eye-watering 126 times expected earnings, according to LSEG. Even compared with robots and spaceships, challenging the U.S. political duopoly with a new group called the America Party might be Musk's boldest leap of faith to date. Third-party candidates have a long record of failure in the U.S. Independents, like Democratic Socialist Bernie Sanders, inevitably end up working within the two-party structure, while previous high watermarks for outside candidates in the 1960s and the 1990s did not come close to cracking the system.
Elon Musk is launching a political party called America. His goal, as he himself stated in his speeches, is to win just a few seats in the U.S. House of Representatives and in the Senate. And in this way, he believes he will be able to influence the course of the political process. In reality, as it seems to me, he won't have any influence. He's creating a spoiler party that will take votes away from the Republican Party and ensure a victory for the Democratic Party in both Congress and the Senate. I think this is a plan for an elaborate revenge against President Trump, because apparently Musk has no other levers of political influence left. In turn, President Trump promises to cancel contracts with Musk Space Corporation, to take away all government launches from Musk Space Company, as well as government orders for Starlink and communications, and also all sorts of preferences that Tesla has enjoyed. Against this backdrop, Tesla's stock dropped sharply, falling by 6 to 8%. In reality, that's not so much. 6 to 8% is, basically, a normal state of affairs. That is, the market believes that the relationship between Musk and Trump will return to normal. They'll come to some sort of agreement, and everything will be fine. A meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is taking place in Washington. He arrived in Washington yesterday. This meeting will discuss a peaceful settlement in Gaza. Let's read the article.
Washington, Tel Aviv, July 7th. Reuters. U.S. President Donald Trump, hosting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House on Monday, said the United States had scheduled talks with Iran and indicated progress on a controversial effort to relocate Palestinians out of Gaza. Speaking to reporters at the beginning of a dinner between U.S. and Israeli officials, Netanyahu said the United States and Israel were working with other countries who would give Palestinians a better future, suggesting that the residents of Gaza could move to neighboring nations. The Reuters Daily Briefing newsletter provides all the news you need to start your day. Sign up here. If people want to stay, they can stay, but if they want to leave, they should be able to leave, Netanyahu said. We're working with the United States very closely about finding countries that will seek to realize what they always say, that they wanted to give the Palestinians a better future. I think we're getting close to finding several countries. Trump, who initially demurred to Netanyahu when asked about the relocating of Palestinians, said the countries around Israel were helping out. We've had great cooperation from surrounding countries, great cooperation from every single one of them. So something good will happen, Trump said. The president earlier this year floated relocating Palestinians and taking over the Gaza Strip to turn it into the Riviera of the Middle East. Gazans criticized the proposal and vowed never to leave their homes in the coastal enclave. Human rights groups condemned the plan as ethnic cleansing. Trump and Netanyahu met for several hours in Washington, while Israeli officials continued indirect negotiations with Hamas, aimed at securing a U.S.-brokered Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal. Netanyahu returned to the Blair House guest house late on Monday, where he is due to meet Vice President J.D. Vance at 9:30 ED2 on Tuesday. Netanyahu's visit follows Trump's prediction, on the eve of their meeting, that such a deal could be reached this week. Before heading to Washington, the right-wing Israeli leader said his discussions with Trump could help advance negotiations underway in Qatar between Israel and the Palestinian militant group.
Trump insists on ending active hostilities in the Gaza Strip, wants a ceasefire to be established, and is negotiating with Hamas. Israel is not very eager to stop the military actions and wants to solve the Gaza problem by military means, which is probably unacceptable for President Trump. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, has nominated Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. All of this is being done in order to buy time and resolve the issue with Hamas in the way Benjamin Netanyahu envisions. I think that Donald Trump will not allow Israel to fully carry out its military plans in the Gaza Strip. However, this is a very old problem. No one knows what the solution is. There are plenty of proposals on this issue. However, neither side is taking any real steps toward establishing peace in the Gaza Strip. Hamas continues to hold hostages and carry out military actions. Israel is doing the same. And the negotiations are just a way to buy time. President Trump understands this and is trying to put some pressure on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to make the first steps toward peace. Serious developments are taking place right now in the global economy. President Trump has once again taken up the issue of tariffs. Let's read the article.
President Donald Trump is hosting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House on Monday as the United States pushes for a ceasefire deal in Gaza. The two leaders, who are meeting over dinner, praised each other following U.S. airstrikes on Iran's nuclear facilities, and Netanyahu said he'd submitted a letter nominating Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts to bring stability to the Middle East. Meanwhile, Trump threatened 25% tariffs on imports from Japan and Korea, the first of what he said would be a series of higher duties unveiled by the White House as it continues negotiating trade deals with dozens of countries.
The deadline for imposing tariffs is approaching, and President Trump has sent letters to many countries specifying which tariffs will be introduced. We can talk about third countries. This may not have a significant impact. However, among the countries that will be subject to tariffs are Japan and South Korea, traditional allies and partners of the United States. President Trump is proposing to impose a 25% tariff on all products from these countries. Of course, such actions do not promote free trade. However, these countries, South Korea and Japan, have tariffs on American products, and they're not small. For example, American cars in both Japan and South Korea cost about twice as much as they do in the United States. Of course, such imbalances need to be addressed. Either both countries should remove the tariffs, or the tariffs should be made symmetrical. That's fair. And perhaps this really could change the trade balance of the United States of America. I think it's impossible to give a definite assessment of these measures right now. We need to see what happens in the future. But I'm sure that nothing bad will come from these tariffs. That's where we'll wrap up this episode. Thank you all for watching. Give us a like, subscribe. We need your support.